This weekend, we have the rematch of the oldest rivalry in the NFL between the Bears and the Packers on Saturday. This time it will be in Chicago. First place in the division on the line. Missing the playoffs is as well for the loser of this game. It's pretty close to a playoff game, as close as you can get. Remember, 2 weeks ago, the Packers beat the Bears at Lambeau by a touchdown. But since then, they have lost their all-pro pass rusher, Micah Parsons. So keep the NFC North race right now. The Bears are currently in the division lead, but the Packers still have the highest chances to win the division at 55%, according to ESPN analytics. Let's dive into the quarterbacks a little bit more now, because who do we think has more to prove on Saturday? Will it be Williams or Love? Speaking of Saturday, Jeff Saturday now joins us now. Hello, welcome.
Hey.
I don't know if I want to talk to you, former Packer, on a day like today, but go ahead.
And by the way, I clinched the only North season I was ever a Packer. We clinched in Chicago.
Thank you for that.
Road stomped them.
Not like that had never happened in my lifetime. I didn't need that. Anyways, which quarterback do you think needs this more, Jeff?
100% Jordan Love. Listen, they are, after the Micah Parsons injury in Denver and then losing the way they did in Denver, when you're talking about arguably two of the best teams in the NFL, Jordan Love needs to have a performance that sets him apart, right? And shows, irrespective of what's going on with our defense, I'm gonna shoulder the burden of lifting this team, and I'm gonna be the force multiplier that honestly Micah Parsons has been for that team on the defensive side. You lost a quarterback in Green Bay only on the defensive side. That's how important Micah Parsons is. So now all of the burden and all the stuff that you got to carry goes to the QB. There was a reason they went out and got Micah Parsons, right? Because they needed a closer. But Jordan Love, it now has to be an offensive run football team. Let's go close it out. We have a division opponent that we have beat up on, and we just beat 2 weeks ago. Make no mistake, the pressure is on Jordan Love and this Green Bay Packers football team.
No, I go Caleb Williams. I think Saturday's lost, and I love him to death. By the way, did you hug Aaron Rodgers when you went in Chicago?
We hugged. Big hugs.
But I think it's Caleb Williams myself. Love has already won a playoff game. They have the excuse now with the injury. They're on the road. I think Ben Johnson sometimes game plans and calls plays at the end of games to protect Williams, which sometimes cannot be that accurate. Horrific pass to end the game there, of course, 2 weeks ago in Green Bay when he had a first down by running and he threw the ball in the end zone that was picked off, a terrible play. I think Caleb Williams has to win this game. A's at home. They just lost to him. They lead the division. No Micah Parsons. He's second year. He was a number one pick. Love's done enough in his career where I know he's good. Williams has not. So as a result, this to me is a watermark moment early on in his career. I have many of them, but this is a big game for Williams. Williams has to beat the Packers on Saturday night. That would be my take.
A rarity where I agree with Doggy because he usually is lost, but not on this particular subject. I'm going to agree with him on this. I think it's Caleb Williams. Do you know that Caleb Williams has 8 wins this year with his completion percentage being below 60? 8 wins where he's completing less than 60% of his passes. Nobody else in the league has more than 3, but he's got 8 wins under those conditions. And so that just tells you that, yeah, he has something to do with it, but Chicago's opportunistic defense in terms of creating turnovers and what have you, that has a lot to do with it. Their rushing attack has a lot to do with it. So we got to keep our eyes on that. You're the Chicago Bears. You know, you look at the Green Bay Packers. Kraft is out. Now you've lost to Micah Parsons. You've had some issues in terms of health. And so because of that, Jordan Love's got to find a way to overcome that. We understand that. But if you're the Chicago Bears, what excuse do you have? You just lost to Green Bay a couple of weeks ago at Lambeau Field. You're on your home turf. You got a half-game lead, essentially, over the Green Bay Packers. You win, essentially. You capture the division crown. All of that is on the line, and you've shown that you can win without Caleb Williams necessarily playing lights out, too. I definitely think this is one of those situations where Caleb is in a position to prove what he's worth because we've seen some spectacular plays like that pass he threw to DJ Moore over the weekend against Cleveland. We've seen him do a lot of things this year that are good, but that doesn't mean that he doesn't have to up his game because if he does up his game, then there's going to be credence to those who are prognosticating that the Chicago Bears could end up making the run for the Super Bowl. We see Seattle and L.A., and obviously they're a threat. Philly's in the mix, but Chicago's already beaten them. You've got Detroit that's still alive. You got Tampa Bay and Carolina battling in the NFC South, but you know they can be had. You're Chicago. You're in a position to make sure that before the NFC Championship game, the road to the Super Bowl has to come through the Windy City.
Good point.
That, to me, puts a lot on Caleb's shoulders.
And remember, Ben Johnson pointed out in his introductory press conference how many times he had beaten the Packers. He has yet to do that. Now, I know this is his first year, lost their first match. Well, now here on First Take, the Eagles got back on track with a much-needed 31-0 blowout against the Raiders on Sunday. Jalen Hurts rebounded from his 4-interception game a week ago, throwing for 3 touchdowns, no turnovers. The win snapped a 3-game losing streak and was Philly's first shutout in 7 years. Yesterday, Jalen Hurts spoke on his team's offensive performance.
Right now, you win games based off of identity. And the thing for us is we've gotten to this point and we've been able to get to this point and be playing for the, games, be playing in big-time games, not really establishing an identity. And so I think it is healthy to have won games in a lot of ways, and I think it's encouraging to be able to build off of something positive.
Okay, Peter, let's dive a little bit further into what we just heard from Jalen Hurts. They had lost 3 in a row, then they have a dominating win against the Raiders. Are you convinced now their offensive issues are done?
I think it was important to have an effort like that. I think it was actually very significant to perform that way, given the week that was in Philly leading up to it. If you recall, Mad Dog, it was, should we see Tanner McKee? It was, can we possibly beat them when they've got Max Crosby and we have no Lane Johnson or Landon Dickerson? It was, how do we stop Brock Bowers? And what they did was, everyone in Philly woke up, snowstorm, dug themselves out, went to their only 1 o'clock game in all last 2 months. And the first play from scrimmage, Saquon went for 1 yard. And everybody was hissing, okay, here we go again. And they proceeded to just absolutely dominate the rest of the way. They win 31-0. I don't care if the Raiders are not the 76 Steelers or the 85 Bears. They got everybody off their backs for at least a moment. Now, offensive identity, they ran the ball 47 times. They actually showed that they can do this if they have to. And they showed that, hey, we could run it down a team's throats. Do I think they fixed everything? No, I don't. But when you've got 2 games against the Commanders with no Jaden Daniels, still to kind of work out some of the kinks left on the schedule, this is about as easy and as fortunate a situation a defending champion has had in the final month of a season.
Yeah, I can't read a thing into it there, Peter, myself. I mean, the Raiders are horrendous. They had 75 yards of offense, 46 yards. They ran the ball. They stink. They're awful. I don't know what the story is about Pete Carroll. He may not last. Who knows? I cannot. And Hurts was so bad on Monday night against the Chargers. He was terrible in that game. So anything is going to be a little better. But I can't read a thing. 31-0. Okay, they beat the Raiders. They win the division. They're going to be the 3 seed. Dallas is out. They're going to be the 3 seed.
What if it was the other way, though?
Well, I wasn't. I mean, if the Raiders won, then we really have a major collapse on our hands. Then we lead the program with it, from that standpoint. Boy, the Eagles are dead. But I can't read. And I'll say the same thing this weekend against Washington. Commanders will be competitive. Sure. But I'll say the same thing. Let them go win in Buffalo in 2 weeks. Bills will need the game. Let them go win the game up in the snow in Orchard Park before I believe that the Eagles are back on the right track.
Felt like a get-right game. Go ahead, Stephen A.
I completely agree with Doggy. I'm of the mindset I don't want to hear anything about the Eagles and overcoming their doldrums and their offensive woes until they go up against Buffalo. Am I supposed to sit up there and be concerned about them against the Commanders coming up and Marcus Mariota or whomever the hell is quarterbacking for them? Am I supposed to be concerned about that? I mean, Jaden Daniels is sitting down for the season. He's out for the rest of the year. We ain't thinking about Washington right now. Come on now, let's stop that nonsense. And the Raiders, awful. Just awful. I mean, it's so bad. You know what? They talk about, whatever happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. You got people in the football world offended because we know what the hell is happening outside of Vegas to the Las Vegas Raiders. We don't want to know about them. They're letting us in on how awful they are. Pete Carroll's not going to survive. He's not the right coach. He's the oldest coach in the National Football League. He's approaching 75 years of age, and there does come a time, we're not engaging in ageism here, but there does come a time when your time is up. And I think with Pete Carroll, that definitely is the case. And we can't take anything seriously about the Las Vegas Raiders at this particular juncture. The Philadelphia Eagles turned over the ball a league high 9 times over the previous 3 games during their 3-game skid. We all know that they didn't turn the ball over the other night, okay? They had like 27 first downs. They ran the football efficiently when they hadn't been doing that at all. We know what time it is. They were going up against a team. They basically had a bye week. The only difference between a bye week and playing the Raiders is that actual tackling is involved. That's the only reason. Other than that, it's a bye week going up against them because that's how awful they are, okay? So we'll find out, and we don't expect much against the Commanders either because of how debilitated they are, even though they'll probably be highly more competitive than the Raiders. The real test is going to be against Buffalo, who's still trying to position themselves potentially for a division crown and definitely is trying to work their way into the playoff picture, obviously. And they're going to treat the game with the importance that it deserves. How the Eagles fare against them is going to tell us a lot more than anything we're talking about at this particular moment in time in the immediate aftermath of a win against the useless Raiders.
I actually would argue that the Commanders would be a good litmus test. Like, their 3 losses were to 3 good teams, right? In the Chargers, Bears, and the Cowboys. And obviously the second half wasn't good. But the Raiders, I mean, come on.
I get it.
Come on.
I get it. I also have been in these chairs where they lost to the Cardinals 2 years ago at home in a similar game when they were 12 points favorites, and we came out and said the world is melting, and we let off the A block with it, and the NBA Cup took a back seat to what's wrong with the Eagles.
Good comparison.
It's fair, and I'd say this. For at least a few days, they can breathe. Because the last month there has been a pressure cooker. And that WIP local radio station, they were talking about sarcastically giving the offense a standing ovation no matter what because they needed the positivity. Yeah. They can't, there's no fangs to that anymore. And I don't even know if they do need to win that Buffalo game or even play well in that Buffalo game. To me, the playoffs are all that matter. You're defending champs. Buffalo's playing for everything. Eagles, looks like the NFC East is theirs.
Well, the Eagles are going to be playing that second road game on the road. They're going to be the 3 seed in the NFC. Yeah.
And also, there was 30 plays that the Eagles ran with Jalen Hurts under center. That's the most they did against anybody this season. So what does that tell you? What that tells you is that they used the Raiders as an experimentation. You understand? That's what they did. Let's experiment here. Let's try this. Let's try. If it'll work against, if it'll work against anybody, it'll work against them. So that'll tell us something. Let's practice here. They used it as a practice game, okay? That's what they did, and that's what they should have done. So props to them for being able to do that. But there are stiffer tests that await down the road.
The Eagles allowed 75 yards of offense. Someone brought that up already in this game. It was their fewest yards allowed since 1955.